Beacon Quality recently announced 3 winners for the inaugural, this is the first time they've done it, Champions for Quality Awards. They did this earlier this month. Now this is interesting because this is the only quality awards program that's where people are nominated on and voted by their quality professional peers. So rather than an outside organization looking at what you've done and so forth, your peers are nominating you for this award. So because they know what you're doing, they're kind of on the ground floor with you. They see what you're doing day in and day out. Sure. So it's pretty interesting. Beacon Quality, they're developers of mobile auditing software. They created this program this year to recognize those in the quality profession who have advocated for exceptional quality at their plants or at their company and on a global scale. And they invited the quality industry to submit their nominees, remember this is peers, and their inspiring stories of the positive impact these individuals have made. And the purpose of the Catalyst Award, as it's called, is to recognize someone who is a catalyst for change within their company. And this can be accomplished by starting programs or implementing change and, more important, creating real results. The nominees were narrowed down to a handful of finalists, and eventually 3 winners were chosen. And today we are joined by Thomas Sholty, a QA technician with Gertz Industries, and one of the winners of this year's Catalyst Award. Welcome, Thomas.
Hi, guys.
How are you? Well,
Doing well.
Thomas, maybe you can start us off, kick us off here with tell us a little bit about what Gertz Industry does.
So Gertz Industries is known as a power packager. We take industrial power units, primarily large generators, and we package them into a package that can be used for mobile use or stationary use. We will take a generator, we'll put it into an ISO shipping container that's made one trip to the US from China, fix all the dents, put in some airflow louvers, some access doors, fuel tank, a silencer, some electronic controls, switchgear controls, and then set it all on a chassis so it can be hauled anywhere you want it. We can also do this as a stationary unit where it can be used for backup power and whatnot. And then we can also do stuff that's more towards the alternative energy, towards wind energy and solar energy, where we can create a battery storage container for the batteries that are needed to hold that power before it goes on the grid. We can create protective packaging for the inverters that are used to transform that from DC to AC. Just all sorts of things. If you need an industrial package, an industrial enclosure, we can do it. Wow. We've got the engineers to design whatever you want.
Well, and from what I understand, just kind of reading up on you before the show, you're fairly new to the company. I guess you've only been there for about 4 years, since 2014. And in that amount of time, from what I read, you have gotten them on board with up and running with ISO 9001 2015, which is a huge accomplishment by itself.
No doubt, yeah.
And decreased their warranty and non-conformance rates to record lows, among some other things. So, with that in mind, what programs have you implemented, do you think, that most raise the awareness of quality across your organization in order to achieve those goals?
Well, one of the big things that we had to look at right off the bat was just getting quality in front of the everyday worker. Management knows what they want. They know, they want that quality product. And the everyday worker kind of knows we want to put out a quality product, but they don't necessarily know how they go about doing that. So getting it in front of them, first of all, getting the everyday worker to take some pride in the product, to recognize where it was going. A lot of our workers didn't realize where our product ends up. We're a little family-owned company. We've got a little over 100 employees, but we have a global reach. Our product ends up in Australia and Canada, all over the US, Mexico, Germany, you name it, we've shipped product there. We've shipped product to NASA. We've shipped it to the oil fields on the North Slopes of Alaska, all over the place. So just getting our employees to recognize, how important the quality of the product is, because it's going to places where people's lives will depend on it. Once they start to realize that, then we can start working on, we can improve here, we can improve there to make the quality a little better. Start working with some of our welders to improve their skills, start working with our sheet metal vendors so that they run the programs better, so that they're not off that micro inch that they've been off all the time. Just to improve those little things that everybody, it's been working, but we can make it better, and we know we can make it better, and we can improve that quality and recognize the quality, the need of the quality, so that we can make those improvements. See how important that is.
Well, Thomas, let's talk about where the rubber meets the road here. So, how do you get your plant floor employees to really engage and take ownership of quality?
We did a couple things. But the first thing was, again, to make sure they understood the importance and where it's going. And then from there, we started giving them the authority to actually do something about it. So when they do find something that, hey, this just really doesn't meet my standards, I got this from the previous process, and I'm looking at it going, this product's got a scratch in it, or this product is bent off and it's going to make it really hard for us to bolt it in right, or whatever it may be, giving them that authority to just stop the process. Hey, I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to put a tag on it. I'm going to call quality. We're going to get it remade or fixed or whatever we need to do. And not just passing it on, not just sending it on through and maybe we'll find it later. But to give everybody the authority to stop that process early, to stop that product, and to make it right from the beginning. That actually had a bigger impact on our processes than just about anything. It also allowed us to not only stop the product early, which drives down the non-conformance repair cost, but it allowed us to identify where a lot of the issues were coming from. A lot of times what we were finding before was things wouldn't get identified early. It'd be caught by a quality tech in final inspection. Well, by giving the ownership to the guys on the floor, letting them catch it early, it gets caught earlier. It's easier to identify where the problem's occurring and then go back and work backwards to correct that, to help with re-education of the guys on the floor, to help make sure that everybody understands how important their individual job is.
So that's kind of talking about approaching it from, let's say, the individual employee level. But what about different departments? How important is it to rope in different departments into the process?
Oh, sure. Every department has to be involved in quality. Quality is a company-wide initiative. It's not, and you're right, it's not just the floor guys. One of the things about quality that, and this goes back to the ISO standards, and it's every department of the company has to be involved. It's got to go from the top down. So engineering, sales, all the way up through finance and IT, they all have to be involved and they all have to see the importance of it. One of my favorite things to do when I get into a meeting with some of the other managers, and early on, I don't have to do this much anymore because they all get it now, but early on it was, we're going to do quality audits. We're going to come around, do internal audits. We're going to hit every department. And, finance or IT may look at it and go, well, why do you have to do that in our department? We're not involved in making the product. Well, that's true, but you do have an influence over the product. And you can ask those questions. Do you touch the product physically in any way? Well, no. Okay, but what influence do you have over the product or the delivery of the service? How quickly the product gets to the customer. Is it on time? Do you have influence over that? And everybody does. IT is a great example. We talk about influence over the product. If the IT server goes down, engineers can't use their software to design the product. If they can't get the design done on time, production can't start building on time, and then the delivery schedule is affected. So everybody has some influence on that product. Once the managers start understanding that, then you start looking at the different processes that are set up. Okay, we're going to run this process. We're going to actually write it out. We're going to make sure that we're following it. And it's putting everything into writing, and it comes down to do what you say and say what you're going to do. It just becomes much easier to get everybody on board at that point. They start understanding that the ISO standards aren't there just to be met just because we want to meet them, but because they will add value to the company. And we start striving to actually meet those standards, and we see the value that gets added as we go.
Okay, and you've in the couple minutes that we've got left here, you've touched on some key elements, involving the employees, involving all departments. But if you were to if you were to say one or two things, three things maybe, that you think were the most important ingredients for developing a culture of quality. So we're talking the culture. How do you change the overall vision of the company when it comes to quality? What are the most important elements, do you think?
You have to hit it from multiple levels, starting with your top level management. Early on, conversations with the CEO, we were ISO 9001 registered to the 2008 standard when I started, but we knew that standard was going away, and to be honest, we were registered because it was something that customers wanted. It wasn't something that we were actually applying well. So those early conversations with the CEO, getting him on board, helping him to understand the value of following that standard, the value of an active quality management system versus a passive system. Once he understood that, once he started to see the value there, then he started talking to the managers, the lower level managers, and hey, this is what we need to do. Let's get on board with this. And then the conversation changed to how can their departments help? So if you start there at the top, and then it becomes, everybody knows what the CEO says, where he drives the bus, everybody's going to follow. So start there at the top, follow on down to the next management level, and then on down to employees, and you help everybody along the way understand what their input is, what their part in that system is, and make it an active system where everybody has the opportunity to have that input. Everybody has the opportunity to say, I see something wrong, whether it's something with the product or something with the process, something with the system itself. I see something wrong. Give them that voice to say there's a problem and then address it from there.
So lead by example and make sure everybody in every department is involved. It sounds like that's kind of it in a nutshell.
That's been key for us. And again, we're a relatively small company, but we've got a big reach, and we do everything. It's a manual system. We don't have a lot of automation to it, so it's a people process.
Right.
And getting those people involved is key for us.
Well, Thomas Sholty, a QA technician with Gertz Industries and a winner of this year's Catalyst Award. Congratulations, by the way. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay.
Thanks, Thomas.
You too.
Talk to you soon.
Yep.